Building towards Great American Bash, NXT delivered important matches with championship implications throughout this episode. Tensions continue to rise between Lola Vice and Kendall Gray. Tony D'Angelo made it clear to Narako he didn't trust him. The Women's Speed Championship tournament began. There was a lot going on, and we started things off with, I would say, not a worse trope in NXT than a repeated interruption promo segment, and yet the company keeps giving it to the top women weekly. All of this was truly necessary in this segment, was for Zarya to speak about her big moment last week. She should have been allowed to gloat as long as she wanted. Instead, Kalani Jordan came out to supposedly give Zarya advice on what the future might hold for her, quickly turning the focus back to her own complaints. Kendall Gray and Lola Vice focused entirely on Jordan rather than set the champion up, and the tag match was so obvious that Vice was scripted to call out the trope. All in all, this was a waste of everyone's time and made some NXT wrestlers look worse for their petty disputes over the top gold. As we then moved on to the number one contenders for the North American Championship, Jackson Drake taking on Tavian Heights, and after weeks of strong victories, Drake walked into the match with Heights deserving a title opportunity more than the man he was facing. However, the result was noticeable. After months of teasing, Heights and Bourne were fighting one-on-one for the North American title. This should be a dramatic match for the Great American Bash, hinting at a possible heel turn for Heights during or after the contest. Heights has not clearly sold why he should beat Bourne. Even this match with Drake, he was outshone by his heel opponent's flashy style. Long-term vanity projects feel like NXT priorities. It's a shame none of them have a clear direction for the gap though. So yeah, 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Izzy Dane versus Tia Hill in a speed tournament. Speed matches fall into the rushed or clunky category. This fits both sides to some extent, despite the experience of both. Hale's falling short of her high potential. Once youngest star in NXT, she's now 22 and doesn't feel like a priority. Corey and Vic spent most of this match arguing over whether Hale was truly ready to be a champion WWE, following a fluke win of the North American title. Despite all the confirmation centering on Hale, it was Dame who felt the most awkward in this setting, barely finding time to hit her own standard offense. NXT is massively bet on Dame as a rising star, but hasn't really backed up that trust with strong matches or promo work. Hopefully Dame has better in her. She's most likely going to be Ariana Grace next week and face Wwenxt Sinclair at the Gab. Hale may take encouragement for a couple of months to get back on TV, even though she has impressed more with the opportunities she has had. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Narako has done next to nothing in NXT so far despite major ambitions, but he has presented an intriguing threat. In the past, as Tony D'Angelo smartly pointed out, he has run a group and that could be the plan again in NXT. It's also likely that Narako's outwardly charming demeanour is a facade for something evil to come. It's just unclear what that could mean. Will Narako simply cheat and steal his way to the top? Will he be shown a more ruthless side to take down Tony D? The tense is only the thing keeping this story going, and something needs to happen next week to fully sell the idea of why fans should care. D'Angelo's a quality champ with multiple interesting challenges on the horizon, but NXT can make a compelling villain if Narako dethrones him. As we then moved on to Natty v Jada Parker, Natty took Jada to the mat and forced Miss Parker to wrestle a different style to usual. This was a smart pace in for the first clash between these two women, but it should not be the last. Despite Natty's heel taunting, Miss Parker was clearly fighting the low-key legend with grit. She was anything but soft. Still, a follow-up match needs to solidify the fact that, especially after Natty made a tap out in the middle of the ring clean, Natty winning this story keeps moving and gives Miss Parker more room to grow in the coming months. However, this could be the missing piece that could take Jada from a popular loser to future champ. So 7 out of 10. As we then moved on to the Women's Speed Championship tournament, Ariana Grace versus Layla Diggs. While Diggs is new to NXT, she stands out and made the most of her 2.5 minutes here. She was the star of the match while the former Knockouts champ played loose with the rules to survive the fight. It would be nice to see more of these women, but Speed only allows so much. They did at least flow better than the first match. Grace did not need to win, but Diggs got a nice character moment in knocking down the rest of the Birthright ringside. Dame v Grace could go either way, but Dame has more credibility built in NXT. If Grace wins, she could have a more entertaining match with Wwenxt Sinclair. If Dane wins, it would be more dramatic. So yeah, overall I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. In the main event, it was Lola Vice and Kendall Gray versus Zarya and Kalani Jordan. So NXT's put all of these women in high-stake matches in recent weeks, so the tag team match felt tame in comparison. It's well rostered and offered an exciting tease for a future Vice-Zarya clash, but the main focus was simply to keep these women on TV. The loss for Zarya is a disappointment after a big win last week, but she was protected by Paxley's appearance, setting up a rematch at Gab. It looked like Paxley may be on her way out of NXT following a loss to Zarya, but one more dramatic title match on the first PLE on the CW would make sense. After that, Zarya has plenty of interesting opponents, starting with potentially a return to a rivalry with Lizzie Rain. Vice v Gray could go either way, but it's clear that Gray is a bigger priority for NXT at present over Vice. For a reason, the title changed things slightly. Jordan remains involved in the title scene and would be better served versing Gray for the gold over another match with Vice, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. For a night that should have ramped up the tension towards the Great American Bash, this show was pretty lame. A thrown together tag match was the best action of the night, but it did not sell a serious need to sell Lola Vice v Kendall Gray in less than 2 weeks. Tony D and Naraku have an interesting dynamic, but they've not done enough to sell why fans should buy into that match either. Even the heated rivalry of Lennox and Sugars was left to a pre-tape video and backstage nonsense. The show also had sidelined one of the most exciting acts in NXT, including Mason Rooks, Lizzie Wayne, Tristan Angels. This was a gettable showing on the road to a night Vic Joseph and Corey Graves kept hyping as game-changing. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.